Hi, I'm Jeff from Trail, and today I'll be showing you the Foxley Awning. We also do a Dalby Awning, which is a smaller version. As it's smaller, it doesn't have a side door like the Foxley does, but otherwise it's exactly the same awning. So I'll be showing you how to attach the awning to the vehicle. I'll be showing you how to pitch the awning, and I'll be telling you about the features and benefits of the awning. I'll also show you how to detach it from the vehicle so you can drive away, and I'll also show you how to reattach it to the vehicle once you've driven back. And then finally, I'll show you how to pack it down and get it all back into the bag. So I've been in the outdoor industry for over 30 years, so hopefully this will all go to plan. So in terms of the contents, when you open it all up, so all important instructions. There's also hints and tips about certain things. I'll cover most of it in this video, but that's always a reference guide. If you do ever lose this, this is also available on our website. So firstly, it will be tied up. You've got these very simple tie straps. Keep hold of these. They become very useful at the end when you're packing it away. So again, put those in the bag and keep safe. So what we have in here is the awning. We have a pack of tent pegs, so steel tent pegs. So they come from the factory, they come with the heads at the bottom, which actually protects the bag and also the awning. And then we have a pole bag, with this being a fiberglass poled awning. So we have a set of fiberglass poles, or two or three sets of fiberglass poles for the actual awning itself. And then, because this is a driveway awning, we include the driveway kit actually with our awning. Most awnings don't come with a driveway kit, so this is normally costing you about £25–30. But the driveway kit consists of a section of K-door beading, which is this. Basically you've got a 6mm bead on one side which attaches to the awning, then on the other side you've got both a 6mm and a 4mm bead. Most awning rails use 6mm, some of them use 4mm. They're the most popular sizes, so we included both of them with it. And then you also get 4 strips of figure-of-8 connectors, and basically this goes into the beading on the awning and then also feeds into the beading on the drive-away kit. And it's this combination that allows you to easily remove the awning from the vehicle when you want to use the vehicle. So to connect the awning to the actual vehicle, what we need are figure-of-8 strips, the K-door strip, and then the pegs. Always handy if you've got a mallet. Just saves actually trying to push them in with your hands or with your feet. So off we go. So in this case is just dragging the actual main body of the awning out, and then what you'll find at the back will be the K-door rail, or the K-door strip, which is attached to the awning, and then you've got elastic and a strap there. So if you can identify the elastic on the awning, follow it up, and you'll get the actual K-door rail, or the K-door strip, should I say. In terms of the awning, to attach it, we take the K-door strip, and again, this rail is 6mm, so I'll use a 6mm strip there, which will come out. You can attach it either on this particular one, just because it's a very simple awning rail. We can attach it from either the front or the back. On a lot of them, you can only attach it one way or the other, but it doesn't really matter. If you can attach it both ways, that's fine. So it just simply slots into the channel there. And slides through like so. So that's firmly attached to the vehicle, and then it's a case of attaching this part of the awning to the vehicle itself. And to do this, again, it can be done from the front or the back. It's always easier if you have two people at this stage. You can do it by yourself, but it's just a bit more fiddly. Second person literally just has to hold the actual K-door strip so it's closer. And then we simply attach one side of the figure of 8 into the strip there, and the other side into the awning. And then that just simply pushes through. As you can see, it just holds it in place. We just do the same again with the second piece. We just get it connected up. Sometimes be a little bit fiddly, but it's easy enough. So if there's anything in the way, like that strap there was, obviously that can just get pulled out of the way. So that just pushes on. Third section, exactly the same. To the end, and then fourth section. So, and this can, for now, this can roughly be positioned where you want it to, and then that is your awning attached to your vehicle via the cowling. So what you'll notice are we've got these 3 long guy lines. The reason for these long guy lines is that if you don't have an awning rail fitted to your vehicle, you can still attach the cowling, but all you'd simply do is you'd throw the guy lines over the top of your vehicle, peg it down the other side. So that'll hold the cowling up. Won't provide such a good seal. And what we find is that the majority of people who use an awning will have a rail already fitted. The rail height itself for this particular awning, and in fact all the trail awnings, is between 180 centimetres and 210 centimetres. So there's quite a lot of play there, depending on your actual vehicle, depending on where your awning rail is fitted, depending on how high your suspension is or how low it is. 180 centimetres to 210 is the perfect height. If it's at the lower end of the scale, we can just pull it in and cinch it in a little bit using the strap here. But I can go through that at a later stage. Then it's just a case of really just adjusting this just so that it sits in the right place. So with this being a fiberglass poled awning, we've then got 3 sleeves for the fiberglass poles. So on this particular one, we have one pole that's marked with red, which then corresponds to the red middle section, and then the other 2 are basically just don't have any markings on. These are the same. So with your fiberglass poles, you have a metal ferrule. It's a hollow pole which is connected by elastic. You simply connect the pole into each ferrule. What you'll find is that there's 2 pre-bent or shaped ferrules on it. Reason for this is that it actually gives you more head height, whereas if it was an arc, what you'd find is that you'd lose a lot of head height on it. Whereas on the trail awnings, we actually pre-bend them. Just gives you a bit more living space really. And then so to connect them into the actual awning, so you find the end of a pole sleeve. As per the instructions, you do the front and then the rear pole. You simply push the poles through. So what you'll find is, because they're on elastic, they can come apart. So if you pull the poles, they'll come apart. So whenever you're threading it, always make sure you push it. And if it does ever come apart, you just need to basically locate it back in. If you don't and it comes apart within the within the sleeve itself, it can sometimes pinch and you can sometimes damage your awning or your pole sleeve awning. If it ever gets stuck like this has, always just stop and then push it back, and then you can feed it through. So in this instance, where we've actually got the reinforced guying point, you sometimes get stuck. So you feed the sleeve through and over, and then because they're pre-bent, you basically want this eyelet roughly around the pre-bent section on both sides. Then to connect the pole, moving the guy lines out the way for now. So at the bottom of the pole sleeve or pole strap, as it comes down, you'll find a couple of metal rings which attach the floor straps, and basically you simply get the end of the pin and locate it into the end of the ferrule there, which holds that in place. You've then got some C-clips which then fasten the rest of the pole or the pole strapping to the pole itself. And then we just do exactly the same on this side. So locate your pin on the end of the rings and then locate it into the pole. As you can see, there's a lot of flex in the pole there, which is absolutely fine. It's designed to do that, so don't worry about it snapping. Pin goes in like so, and then we just readjust and clip the C-clips. So that's the first pole in, and then we move on to the second and third poles. So once it's all attached, next thing we need to do is just peg the base. So grab one of your pegs, and then on the inside of the actual awning itself, you find two little bits of elastic, one on either side of the zip door. So for pitching purposes, just get both of those, hold them together. You simply need to put a peg in and peg this sort of underneath the van a bit if you can. What that'll actually do is hold this side of the cowling in place, and then on the front of the cowling you've got a little webbing strap. Again with this, sort of peg that down. You get that even further under, that's better, and then that can then be pulled to the ground. So that's taking some of the slack out of there, and then you can also adjust the slack up at the top. So you do the front and then walk round, do the same to the back. So you want to make sure that this is quite tight here for your actual cowling. So again, might be a slightly better shot. See that both loops are together. Peg that. Under the van like so. Likewise with the strap here. Peg that in. And just a note about when you're putting pegs in, if you always put them in at 45 degrees, makes them far harder for the wind or anything to pull them out. They'll be easy to take out when you're taking them out because you just pull them out at 45 degrees. But always, rather than going straight down where it can just rip out, always go in at 45 degrees away from the angle that you're actually pitching. So that's attached, held down at the back. So now it's a case of just putting the poles in. So we've got all three poles in, all going exactly the same. So you'll notice on the middle pole, as per the instructions, there's a red tab at the red pole sleeve, and at the bottom, the red pole's clearly identified. So obviously that red pole sleeve, and then the other two just use the standard black poles. So once it's attached and it's up, these will all be leant back, and then grab a couple of pegs. What we want to do at this stage is just pull the whole of the awning forwards. So we'll just move all this stuff out of the way. So easier with two people, but actually what we're looking to do is just pull the whole thing forwards, making sure nothing gets trapped. And then once that's roughly up in the air, basically the front storm straps here, just undo them from the Velcro. These will drop down. And then what you've got is an adjustable strap here. So one point is looped over, that's your pegging point, and then the other loop is just loose, and that's what you tighten it up with. So you want quite a bit of adjustment left in the actual strap itself. You just simply put your peg through. Again, you're going in 45 degrees into the ground. You just hold that in place. Just have a bit of adjustment here. So at this stage it is very much, you're just trying to get it up into the air, and then we can go around and peg it all out and make it look neat. So that's upright. So grab the pegs. Now what we'll do is we'll peg it out. We'll start from the back, going forwards to ensure that everything's nice and taut and tight. So it's pegged down at the back here. As you can see, the cowling is in place. So we can just adjust that strap in a little bit just to make it a bit tighter. And then there's a webbing loop on the ring. So simply put the peg through the webbing loop. Just make sure it's pulled out tight that way, but also tight away from the van itself. Hit a stone or something, so just readjust the peg slightly. Hopefully it will go in this time. that one. Missed doing that C-clip there. We just pull that in a little bit. Again, we can pull that forwards from there. That was quite rocky here. Again, just change direction if you feel too much pressure of a rock. That'll do for now. And then you have your front strap here, which again, that'll basically, you've got the plastic D, so just peg that out. Just making sure everything's as tight as it can be at this stage. We move across to the other side. Again, we do it from the back to the front. Each time just walking it forwards just so that everything's nice and tight. Again, that should be tight across the front there. So it just looks like this. This side just needs readjusting. So if something's not quite sitting right, just readjust it. That's sitting a lot better now. And then there's just a couple of guide points here just to hold it to the ground a bit more. So whenever you're pegging it out, whether it be an awning or a tent, use all the pegging points and guying points because they are there for a reason. And they do help with the stability and shape of the actual tent or awning. Normally if any damage occurs to a product, it's because it hasn't been pitched properly and not all the pegging points and guying points have been used. So there's enough pegs for every guying point, so use them because they're there for a reason. And then we can adjust the front canopy. So again with this, we want to make it look sort of straight as we can really. So again, because we've left some adjustment on here, just pull the canopy so that it's tighter. So that's it all pegged down. Now all we'll do is we'll go round and we'll put all the guy lines out as well. Again, the guys are all on there for a reason. So what we're looking for here is your rear guy lines probably to come slightly to the back, and then your front guy lines obviously come into the front to give it the right sort of tension. Nice day today, there's hardly any wind, so we can just put these guy lines pretty much out where they're meant to go. If it was very, very windy, you may find that you'd have to move your actual guy lines around, just so that when you do put your guy lines out, you want your guys to go face into the wind, and that way it'll be pulling the actual awning out the right way. So just a word about the guy lines and how to use a guy line. We just use very simple plastic or nylon guy runners that just work on friction. So very simple device. It's basically a piece of nylon. You've got 3 holes in it, which the guy line is threaded through, and it's finished with a knot. So to use it, you want to make a loop from the knot and then from the second eyelet in. So there's your actual loop, and then once that's pulled tight, it can't move. As soon as it's loose, it can free off and move about. So it's basically from your knot, you make a loop to the second guy line. If you do it that way, there's absolutely nothing to stop it moving. Whatever tension you put on it, it will just go. So it's very important when you're using your guy lines is from your knot, make your loop. Again, guy lines can be out as long as you want, or all depends on the ground. If it's very rocky ground, you might have to come some way out, or you might have to go a little bit further in, but you've got enough adjustment on them. So I'll pull that slightly to the back. This one I'll pull slightly to the front. Works exactly the same way. A lot of guy lines, but like I say, they're all there for a reason. Just notice that I've missed the lower guy line there, which I'll go back and do. So we just peg these front low ones, and again, just bring those out, slight angle. Ooh. Bring the pegs. Sometimes when you clip the C-clips in, the actual guy line can be on the wrong side of them. So you just unclip it and clip it back in. couple more to go and then we're done with the guying of it. Pull that slightly forwards. So that is the awning pegged and guyed out. So because these guys work on friction, it's worth checking them probably every morning, every night. If you go out and leave it for any time, just make sure that they're all nice and tight still. They will over time, certainly in blustery weather, just work themselves loose. So very easy to adjust. So simply slide down and then just pull back up under pressure, which then keeps it nice and tight. So next I'll show you the features and benefits inside the awning. Okay, so the awning's pegged, guyed out. So next thing we're going to do is put the ground sheet in place. So all the trail awnings are supplied with a loose ground sheet that clips into place. So a couple of reasons for this. One, it means that if the ground sheet gets damaged, it's easily replaced. Secondly, if it gets wet and dirty, either inside or outside, take it off, far easier to clean the ground sheet than the whole awning. And also, if you pitch on hard standing, you will damage your ground sheet. So obviously on hard standing, you wouldn't need to use this. And finally, if you go abroad, quite often they won't let you use a solid ground sheet. So covering all the options by having a loose fitted one. So got the main door. So it's a big door, and then there's a mesh door behind it. So we'll just open both sides up. And then we'll just roll the front door away. So good tip, it's always useful, is if you ever roll an external door off, always roll it underneath. So if you roll it underneath like this, even though this has got a canopy on, but because a canopy can be rolled back, you roll your door up like this, it means that it's not going to catch any water. So in case it rains or something while it's rolled up, you're not going to get a face full of water when you unroll it. So these just simply tab into place using a toggle and a loop. Very, very simple, very, very effective. Likewise, the secondary mesh door, that can also be rolled up, and it can be rolled independently. So either the front door can be rolled up with the mesh down, or vice versa. It can just be rolled up and held out of the way. So then just grabbing the ground sheet. So there's clips for each corner. So these are just little S hooks on elastic. So there's a little bit of give there. And then you open the ground sheet out, and then on one side there's a little loop with a ring on it, and that's basically, that goes onto the ground. And then there's connection points up here, because you can buy a bedroom as a separate accessory for all the trail awnings, and it's one bedroom that fits all. So you just need to position this so that that hook is on the left hand side when you look into the awning. And then to hook it in, you simply take your little S hook on the elastic, clip it into the ring. There's a series of rings and hooks around the awning. There's no real method to this other than just making sure everything is hooked up. So you'll notice that ring there on its own, that's basically in line with the ring on there, and that's for your bedroom point if you choose to use one. Pull that a little bit. And then so that provides a nice seal to the actual floor itself. And then just talk about the inside of the actual awning. So we have a low vent down here, and then at the back we have a high vent, which is on a zip, and that actually goes to the cowling itself. The reason why we can close this off and it's not an open vent is that when the cowling is taken away, when you drive the van away, this then becomes the outside of the tent. So that's sealed and waterproofed, but nice mesh panel there. At the back, we've got this big door, so that leads directly into the cowling and therefore into the van. So there's a clip at the top, and so if you bring the bottom zip to there, top zip to there, you can then fold half the door away if you want. So you do it a little bit neater than that. Or if you want it fully open, you just undo the little clip. And then obviously the whole thing can be rolled to one side. So a little bit of versatility in the door there. So sometimes you might have a chair or a table or some furniture there. And so that's nice and closed there. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we have a side door, with this being the slightly larger version. So you have a mesh panel again, so a mesh door, and then you actually have your side door if you wish. Again, just allows you a little bit more access inside. So if you want the door closed, you can open the window. This just rolls away. So on the Dalby, the slightly smaller one, you've simply just got a side window here. So no door, just a window and a curtain. But with this one, you've just got that door just in case you need it. Again, just to give you a little bit more make it a little bit more versatile. And if you want, you can close your mesh back up if you want to, or roll it away. On this side, you've just got another full window. So on both the windows, so in fact on all the windows, you have the ability just to have a half window if you like. If you just want light in but you don't necessarily, or you want the privacy. Or again, this can simply just be rolled and folded out the way. Just the very standard toggle and loop system. It also means that when it's rolled away, you've still got access to the vent. Then got front windows. Again, they can either be half, or they can be fully rolled away. Likewise on the other side here. I'll just fold that one for now. You get the idea of it. And then the door itself, if you want the main door closed, again, that's got a window actually built into the front with a cover. So in terms of lighting, in terms of allowing a lot of natural light in, you've got a lot of windows, a lot of viewing area. So coming back inside, obviously you've got your little hooks and toggles up here. So this is for the additional bedroom, if you require one. Around each pole sleeve, we have Velcro for either cables or lights. And then at the center here, we have a hook, again for a light or a lantern. And that's also mirrored on the front pole. So you've got your Velcro coming round for your cable, fairy light, and then you've got your hook there. One of the unique things about this shelter, or in fact all of the trail shelters, is the fact that we have sunlight. So you open the curtain up, which is on a zip. Basically, you have 3 big PVC panels. So the curtain itself can just be folded away. So straight away, just floods the inside with light. Obviously it's a very nice day out there, blue sky, so we'd probably want that closed because it's very, very light in here. On duller days, opening that up will actually give you a little bit more natural light inside. Likewise, when it's going dusk into dark, having that open just means that you can use as much natural light as you can. Then obviously when it is dark, if the skies are clear, you can just sit in here, everything closed up, nice and comfortable, and you can stargaze quite nicely. So that's really the inside of both the Dalby and the Foxley fiberglass awnings. So just a quick word while I'm here about condensation. So condensation will happen in any tent or any awning, and it's where the hot air on the inside meets the cold air on the outside, and basically the water vapor turns back into water droplets. It can vary from day to day, from place to place, but it does generally always occur to some degree. So you'll never ever get rid of it. There are a lot of ways to minimise it and make it more comfortable. So the first one being, make sure all your actual windows are covered of a night time. Again, it sometimes happens during the day, but mainly it happens overnight when you do tend to find there is much more of a difference in air temperature. So close all your curtains up. Again, slightly longer pullers on the actual skylight blind. That just makes it easier to pull in. Close your curtains up. Again, you'd probably do this as a matter of course in the evening anyway. But all your curtains are closed using little toggles and loops. Right, on your side door here, just get everything closed up. And by closing all your curtains and your blinds, that basically gives you an extra almost barrier between the hot air inside, or the slightly warmer air inside, and then the colder air outside. So all your windows, all your blinds are closed. Then what you really want to do is make sure that your vents are open. So obviously you've got your low vent here, and then you've got your vent at the back there. So that can just roll away. Basically from your low vent up to your higher vent here, that just gives you a lot more airflow. You're still protected at the back, so you're not going to get anything coming in because you've got the cowling there to protect you, but it just allows a lot more airflow. Again, on the front door here, you've just got the mesh. So if you were set up like this with the actual canopy out, potentially you could just have the mesh if it was a very warm night or you noticed a big build-up of condensation. So there are ways to minimise it, and it can vary so much from one day to another day. If you find that on one of those days you do get a lot of condensation, always carry a microfiber towel or something like that, which is very, very good at just wiping down and just getting rid of the condensation. But normally, as soon as the sun comes out, that condensation will just disappear back into water vapour as opposed to actual moisture itself. So now I'm going to show you how to remove the awning from the vehicle so that you can drive the vehicle away. Obviously, you might be at the campsite, you've set up, and then it's like, oh, I want to go out for the day, or you might need to nip to the shops, that sort of thing. So you can't with it being attached. So this is where the beauty of the driveway kit comes in. So the first thing we do is adjust the side here. So take any tension out of the top. And then at the bottom here, we'll basically unpeg. Keeping those pegs to one side. And then walk through. Obviously with the cowling, we do 2 doors, one at each side, one at the front, one at the back. So you've got access either way. And we do exactly the same at the back here. Loosen it off and unpeg. So now we're ready to take the actual cowling and detach the awning from the Driveaway kit. So to do that, we just simply take the figure of 8s out. These should just slide out relatively easy. Sometimes helps if you've got 2 people, but it can be done by yourself. Again, make sure you keep those safe. Sometimes the last one can be a bit fiddly. So that's the awning now detached from the actual vehicle. So at the minute, because it's detached, you'll see that it falls forward ever so slightly. So once we've rolled away and driven off, what we'll need to do is just readjust the pegging and guying of it. But firstly, with the cowl, as you can see, it just flaps about a bit. So what we want to do is roll this away. There's tabs to actually hold it. Best way to do this, again, because it's external, roll it from the inside. And what we're doing is we're going straight up to the central point to begin with. Like so. Into the corners. Obviously, you can see here the actual mesh vent. So if you're going away for a period of time and you thought that it might rain, what you'd want to do is actually close it up on the inside to make sure no water got into the awning. So that's the cowling nicely, neatly tied away. As you can see, what we'll need to do is, once we've driven off, is actually readjust the guy lines. So we'll drive off, short distance, come back, readjust the guy lines, and then we'll be ready to go completely. Before we drive off, we've obviously got to be able to get the van back in place so that the cowling can reattach. So best thing to do is actually mark the wheels. So obviously you can use the pegs from the actual cowling itself, but makes it easier if you've got any high visibility pegs. So these are just plastic pegs, and all we're simply doing here is marking the wheels. So if we come, I don't know, maybe 2-3 inches in from the actual wheel, you're looking at the end of the wheel there. That one's broke because I ran over it. Same again at the back. So roughly in line with the wheel. Because there's movement in the cowling, it doesn't need to be exact, but it's always good. It saves messing about if you can get it as close as you can, really. So that's now marked. One thing that I've just remembered that I haven't done is remove the actual K-door strip. What you don't want to do is drive down the road with that still attached. So K-door strip and your figure of 8s. So you need to keep those safe for when you come back. So in this instance, I'll just put those into the van. Likewise, pegs and mallet into the van so I know where they are when I come back. So I'll drive off, I'll then come back and basically just repeg the awning, just so it's all nice and safe and stable for when we drive away. So obviously where these were guyed out to the side to give it tension, now there's nothing at the back, they'll need to be adjusted. So, but firstly, we take these top guy lines. Interestingly, not many awnings, if any, actually have guy lines at the top there for when you drive away. A lot of them just rely on the little side ones, but I've put the top ones on just to make it even more secure. It's a couple of extra guying points, but actually it just means that it's less likely to get damaged if there's high winds when you walk away, and less chance of any water pooling in the top there. So straight away that's pulled the back of the awning upright, making it a lot more stable. So if you're going away for some time, you could pull these back round. As I'm going to be driving round and driving back up to it to show you how to reconnect, I'll leave these guy lines where they are for now. So that's better, a little bit far forward, but I can manage with that. As a hint, obviously angle your mirror back, and it's actually the rear ones that are probably more important. If you've got another person with you, obviously they can guide you in a little bit more, but if you're doing it by yourself, it's actually the rear pegs that are more important than the front. So then when you come back, it's basically a case of connecting everything back up. So first thing is put your cowling back on. That's your K-door rail on the roof there. Get the mallet out. Got your figure of 8 strips, and then it's a case of undo your actual cowling. And then, even though it's marked, it's worth at this stage just to have a quick see whether it will actually fit. Yeah, so that should fit. And then because this is already pitched, theoretically it should be slightly easier to get the cowling on and attached. So as before, tried to do it one-handed but failed. With one person it is a little bit more fiddly, but once the first one's on you're normally okay. So that's your cowling attached, and then same again. So you're just basically pegging the corner down because the cowling door is going to be in use. I'm only pegging the innermost elastic loop in this case. Hit a stone, just reposition it. And then the outer webbing. Tighten the outer webbing a bit. Likewise, you can tighten here. Just to pull that back up. So that's the awning attached again. What you do, you'd mirror exactly the same at the other side of the cowling door there. So another unique feature on the trail awnings is this front roll-away canopy. So obviously it gives you a lot of shade, also gives you a lot of protection from bad weather. So as with the rest of the awning, it's waterproof to 5,000 millimetres. hydrostatic head, so very, very waterproof. Obviously, as this awning comes out from the van, your pitch may be a little bit smaller, so there may be instances where you can't actually use this front canopy, either through size, or if it gets really, really stormy, I'd advise taking it down just to protect it a little bit, because obviously there's no actual sort of sides or anything to it. So the advantage is we can just drop the front pole out, take the guy lines out, roll it away, and then we just have a standalone awning. So we'll do that now. So first thing is just drop the front storm strap. So these just simply unclip, so little plastic buckles. Let me take the side guys out. So that will just drop forwards onto the rest of the awning, which is fine. And then with your guy lines, what you can do is if you basically just wrap them around your hands a couple of times, leaving a little bit loose, and then you can just simply tie a very, very simple knot. Doesn't need to be tight, just a simple overhand knot. That just keeps them secure. If you tie a fancy knot or tie it too tight, you'll struggle then to get them opened again. So once you've took your guy lines out, you can start to unclip your pole. As you work your way down the pole, you can then unpeg your front pegging point. On this side, unpeg, work your way back up. So just for neatness sake, I'll just wrap this again. So wrap it around your hand, and then just make a loop, tie it off like so. Final thing to do here is just to unclip the front floor strap. That then means it's far easier to roll the awning or roll the canopy away once you've finished with it. So that works on a very simple clip type system there. And then it's a case of unconnecting the pole. So you simply pull the end of the ferrule off the pin. Likewise on the other side. And as I spoke about earlier, whenever you're using fiberglass poles, if you pull them, they will come apart and then ping back on themselves. So always push the actual pole through the pole sleeve. If it does get caught on anything, just stop, see what it gets caught on, and then readjust accordingly. So that's the pole out. And then it's a case of just rolling away the front canopy. So as with all of it, can be done by one person, far easier if it's done by two. Just makes it a lot more neater and a little bit easier. So one person on each side, you basically gather your straps up, sort of push them underneath, and then likewise you're rolling underneath because it's going on the outside. So then, because of the sloping shape of the front, what you may want to do at this stage is just open the awning ever so slightly. Which then allows you to step inside. So then this can just get rolled up. Reach. So then the front straps, or the storm straps that we unpegged to begin with, just need to move these forward. And then these can be reconnected to the clips on the awning itself. So, as you can see, there's quite a lot of flexibility in the pole there, so don't be scared to pull down on it if you need to. So that's then the awning pitched with the front canopy rolled away. Because we've changed the shape of it ever so slightly, it's always worth just checking to pull on your guy lines again, just to give them some adjustment, just to make sure everything's sitting nicely. And that's the awning with the front canopy rolled away. So you finish your camping trip, you're ready to go off home. So now I'm going to show you how to take it all down and, more importantly, get it back into the bag. So we start with removing the cowling. So same thing again, we loosen off and then unpeg from the actual base there, and then remove the figure of eights. So figure of eights are removed, so it's no longer attached to the van. I'll remember this time to remove the K-door strip. So, and because we're packing it away, what we don't want to do at this stage is roll the cowling away. We want this nice and loose. That means that when we fold it to get it into the bag, it's not going to bunch up. It's just going to fold and sit very nicely there. So make sure your doors are closed, but it's always good to leave a little bit of an air gap in there. And then we just simply undo all the guy lines to start with. So we'll just leave those front ones for now. So that's all the guy lines removed, apart from the front two. Collect pegs as you go along. It's a good idea to always just keep them in one area and one place. And then it's a case of unpegging it. So just methodically work your way around the awning. Again, when you're taking the pegs out, because they went in at 45 degrees, they need to come out at 45 degrees and they should pull out relatively easily. So the reason why we're just keeping the front pegged for now is, one, it's just holding it up a little bit, but also if the wind does pick up, it's still attached. So I think that's all the pegs out, so we can collapse that to the ground now. And then undo your final pegs. And to take the rest of it down, all we're simply doing is undoing the poles. So a bit like on the first front pole, we just unclip the C clips, unpeg as such. Likewise, we just then push that through. This stage, because the grass was very dry and obviously not muddy, I've actually left the ground sheet in place. It's entirely up to you whether you unclip the ground sheet or not. If you unclip it, just means you've got to clip it in afterwards. If it's very dirty or wet underneath, you might want to unclip it, but for now I've left it in. Makes it easier to roll. It also makes it easier to actually pack away. So do the final pole. It's exactly the same thing. So you undo your C-clips, remove the pin, and that's pulled through. Because when we took this down, we had it in a rolled away canopy state. What you just need to do is undo your canopy at the front, because as it is like that, if you start rolling it, it just bunches together, which makes it difficult to actually get packed away. So just work through. And just open your canopy up. So to begin with, just roll it into or fold it into a very rough rectangle. Try and get it as flat as possible. And make sure any guys and webbing are just shoved in like so. So now we put the poles and the pegs away into the bags, and obviously the rest of the gear. So with the poles, it's always best to put them in individual pole lengths rather than trying to grab them all and throw them in together, because they only get tangled. It also means you can count how many poles there are in there. So obviously with this awning there was just the 3 poles, so they're all in. Then got your figure of 8s, so there's 4 of those. They go in, and then finally your K-door strip. So they all go into the pole bag like so. There's a tie at the top there, so I'd just suggest wrapping it round a couple of times and then just tying a very simple overhand knot. Don't need to do a double knot. If you do a double knot, chances are you won't get it open. So that's your poles and your driveway kit packed away. Now, when it comes to packing the rest of the tent, any tent bag or awning bag is always built around the size of the actual poles. So the length there of the poles when they're folded down is the length that awning needs to be folded to, and then it'll fit nicely in the bag. So that's what we'll do now. So having your poles as a guide, you've already made the rectangle, so literally just fold this over. There is some tolerance, so providing it's about the same sort of size as the pole bag, you should be fine. So as you roll it, it'll tend to splay out a little bit anyway. So it's been quite a nice day today, so the actual awning is rolling quite nicely. Sometimes if it's very wet, it can be a bit more of a pain to fold away. And then, so that's rolled up. It's still roughly the size of the poles. So then at this stage, you grab the ties that you took off previously. What we can do with the ties, just work them underneath. Good indication of whether it's going to fit or not is whether you've just got enough tie to be able to tie a bow in it. If you haven't got enough, it's probably a little bit too big. If you've got too much, it's probably a little bit too thin and therefore too long for the bag. This looks about right. So just a knot with a bow. Again, don't tie a double knot in that, you won't get it undone again. And then the advantage of the ties is that you can now move it about. So that's all held together, so we can actually walk that across to the carry bag. So before we put that in, we'll just put the pegs away. So again, make sure the pegs are all facing the same way, and we put them head first into the peg bag. Again, just a single tie around that will hold them in place. Personally, I always pack the tent pegs after the bag or after the actual awning. One, so that it's not going to get rolled up and the pegs are going to get caught up in the awning. And secondly, if you have left any pegs behind, it's just really easy just to grab the bag and put them in, as opposed to just throwing a loose peg in. So you've got your instructions as well. And then the easiest way to do this is simply put the bag over the top of the awning and hopefully it fits. And you just simply roll that over. And final thing, just put your instructions. Again, the instructions can be found on our website. So that's the Foxley Trail awning. So I'll just have a quick check round, make sure there's no other tent pegs kicking about. Again, it's always worth doing it just to make sure you haven't dropped anything. And then at the same time, probably just take these pegs out as the marker pegs, because we're leaving, so we don't need them anymore. That's that. Home time.